Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how I make my pop-up boxes. These are lovely gifts for Mother's Day. All we're going to need for this is one sheet of A4 and this is 300 GSM cardstock. You do really need a heavyweight cardstock. The paper pattern that I've pulled out today is the Romantic Florals, and I'm sure this one came from the works. Yeah, and within this paper pad you get some really stunning patterns. You get your stripes, your tiny daisies, your leaves. You also get some lovely sentiments, again some lovely sentiments. So this is the paper pad that I've chosen, and as luck would have it, the one that I've chosen is the very first one at the back of the pad. So I've taken out this really pretty pink tiny floral design, and on the back we've got the green dotty. So that's the paper that I've chosen. And the first thing that we need to do is a tiny bit of cutting with our paper trimmer. So as this is A4, it's slightly under 12 inches, and I need to cut this down to 11.5. So all we're taking off is this tiny piece. Now if I take in my scoreboard, I've already scored these so that you can see what I'm doing. I've scored down at 2 3/4, 5.5, 8.25, and 11. And if you rotate your cardstock so that the narrowest score line is at the top, we're going to score this down to at 3 3/4, but we're only going down to the last score line. So 3 3/4 all the way down to that last score line, which means this end panel is completely free of any scoring. So that's all the scoring we need to do. So what I'm with the shortest grids, I'm going to cut on this very narrow score line. I'm going to cut across on the score line up to the score line, and I'm going to take this one away completely. So this is what you end up with. Now I would take a tiny slither off of the corner of there, and maybe off of the bottom there, and this is what's going to be our tab to adhere everything. Now if we turn this around, we're going to cut up the first score line just to that score line that's running across the middle. We're going to do the same with the next one, just up to the score line, and the same with the last one. So what we've got now is one long panel, 3 short panels, and our base panels. And it's at this point that I like to do my folding and burnishing. Some people like to do it before they cut. I like to do mine after I've cut. So just fold and burnish all those score lines inwards, and then if we turn this over, this first one we're just going to leave that one. The second one we're going to fold back on itself. We're going to give that a nice burnish, and then the same with the next two. Just fold them back on themselves. And then what we've got now is this going on. So measure this one should be 2 3/4 by just over 8. So if I write that down, we want times 1 at 2.5 by, I would say, 7 3/4. And then we're going to need 3 at 3.5 by 2.5. So 3.5 by 2.5, we're going to need 3 of those. Now these bottom ones on the opposite side, I need 3 at 4 1/4 times 3 at 4 1/4, and that should again be by 2.5. And I think that's most probably all I'm going to do for now. So if I take in my paper trimmer again, and I'm going to see if I can get the most out of this 12 by 12. So 1 at 2.5 by 7 3/4. If we do the 2.5 by 7 3/4, that's our back panel. I've got this one left over. I need 3 at 3.5 by 2.5. So I know that's 2.5. So we're just going to cut that piece down to 3.5. So now I only need 2. I'm going to go this way now because I want to try and save cardstock. If it's directional, you're going to have to carry on cutting it the way it was. So I want another 2 at 2.5 by 3.5, 2.5 by 3.5, and I will get another one out of there. So that's 3.5. So that's those 3. Got a tiny square left over, and then I want 3 at 4.5 by 2.5. So if we go back to the 2.5 by 4.5, and I think I'm only going to get maybe 1 out of that. Let's have a look. Oh no, we can get another one out of that one. So that's 2. I just want 1 more. So if I take the smallest width, 2.5 by 4.5. So that's all our first cuts done. We only want to mat these 3. So the 3.5s by 2.5s are the ones that I'm going to mat, but I also want to mat this big one. Now I don't mind if this doesn't go right the way down. Let's see if I can get all of these out of this spare piece. I'm just going to cut this piece at 2.5. No, I'm going to cut this piece at 2 1/4 because that's our first mat piece. And then these I need to cut, so 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then this one 3 1/4. I've got this tiny bit left, which is 2 1/4. It's going to cut that down to 3 1/4. Okay, so now it's a case of decorating. Now we know that this is going to be the inside, so I'm not going to do that panel until the end. If we turn this around, we know these are going to be on the outside. So these are the ones that I want to glue down. And then these bottom ones I want to glue down as well. So they're going to go on the back there. And these green ones, the dotty ones, are just going to go on the top. So can you see when this is closed up, we're going to have pattern paper on the inside, but we're only going to have the pink, and on the flappy bits that come over, we're going to have the double layers. So if I go on and do all that, stick all those down, and then I'll be right back. So if I just do this last one, and this one's going on the bottom, try and get a nice even border across the tops and the bottoms. Give that a turn over and a press down. So this is where we are at the moment. This is starting to come along really quite nicely. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with those at the moment. We're going to need 2 strips, roughly ½ an inch, an inch. It's whatever you want in width, and we're going to cut these at 3 1/4. So 1, 2. You can have as many of these as you want, these little strips. I'm going to have 3. You can have 2, 3, 4. This depends on how full you want to make your box. Now if we take back in our scoring board, we need to score these down both ends at 1/4 an inch. So I would do that end, then I would turn it over and I would do the other end, because when you fold and burnish these, you want the first one to look in and the next one to look out. So we've ended up with this shape. So there's our 3 tabs. Now when this is closed, obviously this is where the back is. So our tabs need to go on this side or this side. So we're going to go on this very first one. So the one with the tag to the right. And all we're going to do is glue these. So tiny bit of glue on the back of that one. I'm going to have these about ½ an inch in. I'm going to place that one, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the next one. I'm going to leave again about another ½ an inch. I'm just going to line that up in line with that one, and then the very last one we're going to do the same again. So can you see that they are basically all in a line, about 3/4 of an inch down from the top of this patterned piece, about 3/4 of an inch in for the first one, and just give those a tiny press down. So I'm just going to have some patience and wait for them to dry. Fold all those back. Now we're going to pop some glue on the backs of these, and on the back of this tab. I'm going to bring across, and we're just going to press that down and give that a really nice burnish on the back. Turn this over and do it this way as well. And when you're doing things like this, it's all about having patience and waiting for the glue to dry. Now when we open this up, we've got our back panel and our opening panels, and now this is when we can decorate this back panel. What I'm going to do is layer these up. So it's roughly the same amount of border as the rest of them. As I said, I'm not worried about this being exactly the right length. It was all about getting the most out of our cardstock. And then again, a nice bit of glue all the way around. And in the middle. And for this one, I'm just going to slot this one in. Get a nice border at the top. And give that a nice press down. And you can take your bone folder and really give this a nice press. And this is where we are with our pop-up box card. Now, how easy was that to make? Okay, so I'm going to take back in my paper pad, and I'm now going to choose one of these to cut my florals out. Now I like this one. I like the one with the pink tiny daisies on and the foliage on the back. So I think we'll go with that one. We'll see what this looks like. So there's the first ones. Let's just get these out. So I've put that down again. And now it's all about shaping these and gluing them together. Do you know, I might even be inclined to alternate a couple of these. If I take in my ball tool, and I'm just going to run that around the centre of that one. This one I'm going to do in the opposite. So we're going to get that pretty centre one. The last one. Get that one glued together. So if we rotate that one, pop some glue on the back of this one, rotate that one, and then with the tiny one, there we go. So there's our first floral. We've got this shape. So I'm going to take my pokey tool and I'm going to curl the edges of this one. So we've got some different looks going on. Just give that a tiny push down in the middle. So there's our second floral. Let's do a white one now. So with these white ones, what we could do with these is we could pinch the petals of these. So if we just pinch them going in and give that a nice press in the center there. That's another look. So if we do the same with this set, just gently pushing the tips of those petals. that one in the center there. I'll give that one a nice press down. So can you see we've got some different effects going on? So I need to do all these and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's our florals all stuck together, shaped and glued together. What I need to do next is pop a tiny bead in the center of my florals. So actually I'm going to put quite a lot of glue because I want to glitter in the center of these as well. So more glue than you need, just like a little puddle of glue there. I take my pickup tool and I'm going to use the smallest, and I'm just going to sit them so that the glue expands beyond the bead, like so. So how many more have we got? Another 2. And that's the last one for those. I'm going to move those white ones out the way a minute. I'm going to take myself a piece of copy paper and some glitter, and if I pick these up, I'm just going to put some glitter around that glue. There we go. It just makes them sparkle. There's that one. And that one. Ah, there we go. And then the last one, I've got some glitter going on with those. And then with the 2 white ones, I thought I'd like to put a pink pearl. So this is the Chloe's pearls from Chloe's Creative Cards. So again, a nice blob, more than you need, in the center there, with the next size up. Let's see what they look like. So, oops. So there's that one. And there's that one. And then if we get some glitter on those, and that's those done. We just need for that glue to set for a couple of minutes. Now the next thing you'll need is some acetate. This is quite a heavy duty acetate, but any acetate that you've got in your stash would work. And what I like to do is I like to cut my acetate in about 1/2 inch strips. So if I measure this piece, so this is 10 inches. So if I take this first one down to 9.5, so it's our first strip, and the next one down to 9. Now I know I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I should imagine that would do 4. So now 8.5, 2, 4, 6. We just cut 4 strips. So there's our 4 strips of acetate. Now all we're going to do with this now is stick our florals to the backs of our acetate, and I like to use red liner tape for this. So what I would do is I would put some red liner tape on the top of there, I would remove that back in, and then I would take one of my florals and I would glue that to the back. And this is what we've ended up with. Now this is when we would cut down our length. At the moment I'm just going to cut them in half, roughly, and then we can decide on the exact lengths when we put this together. So again, you can glue these rather than using double-sided tape, but in my experience they don't stay together for too long. And I'm just going to get that one on the back. So that's the next one. So there's two. Do the same with this one. Our last floral, we pop this one on the back, and there we go. Let's just get rid of all this glitter. So there's our florals all now attached to the acetate. I'll pop all those to one side, bring back in our pop-up box, and now the glue should be dry on those. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to decorate the back. So again, I need to choose another paper. Now that's quite a nice one. I'm trying to mix these colours up. Right, if we take back in our piece of spare card that we wrote on, we need 3. I'm not going to do the back because that's where we'll write our message. We need 3 at 3.5 by 2.5 and 3 at 4 1/4 by 2.5. So if I quickly get those cut, I'm not going to mat and layer these, and if I quickly get those stuck down, we can then do the fun part. It's a nice bit of glue as always. There's no right or wrong way to this pattern. Line those up, get those, keep it all the same. So there's that one. We do this one. And then another small one. There we go. And then if we turn this over, we only need to do these 2. When you take the card out of the envelope, you see some pattern paper. But as I say, you don't have to. There you go. So that's those all down. So can you see the difference now with pattern paper all around the edges, and when this is closed up, it looks nicer. So all we need to do now is decide which way you want this to close. And I think I'll most probably have it close in from left to right. And the reason for that is when we pop our florals on, if I take the first one, if I go too far over this end and this closes, this is going to stick out. So I will keep these in line, whereas if I put it over this end when this closes, they're hidden. So I think that's what I'll do. So this first one, now again, I would use tape for this. So again, I'm going to take this red liner tape, about 1/4 inch. Just pop a tiny bit of tape. So we've popped a bit of red liner tape, about 1/4 inch on the back. There, now this is the fiddly bit where you need to have both hands going. So that's our first one in. And keep turning this over and pressing things down. And there's our first one. Now that's on the front of the, what we call in them, bridges. The next one, if we choose a pink one, we could pop on the back. So again, tiny bit of red liner tape. And this time I'm just going to pop 2, because this is quite thin, this red liner tape. And I've popped this now on the same side as the floral, because I'm going to pop that one behind. Just remove those. And this one, get your fingers in there, just pop that one on and give that a nice press down. So there's the 2. Now I'm going to take in a white one, and I'm going to have this white one going over this side, but I'm going to cut this down. So I'm going to take about 1/2 inch off of there, because that one's going to sit there and it's going to hold those up. This one is going on the back of our floral. So again, I'm going to pop down a couple of tiny strips, remembering not too long, because whatever hangs over your bridges will stick to everything else. And this one is going to go just in front of this one. This is where it starts becoming a bit tricky. You need to get your fingers in there and really give them a quick press down and then a rub on the back. There we go. This one I most probably will glue to the back at some stage. I'm going to have another one, another big one just here. You really do need to get your fingers in there and give those a nice press down now from the back. Open this up. And then this very last one, I think that one was at the back, so I think we're going to have this one at the front, and I'm going to have this quite tall. So I'm just going to chop some off of there, pick this up again, press down, now this, the nice thing about these are they're supposed to be floating, and I'm just going to pop all that to one side to let that dry while I choose some sentiments. Keeping with the pad, I'm not doing any stamping or die cutting for this. There's our sentiments. Okay, so we've got, I mean, we could have, because I thought this would make a nice Mother's Day card. So I think we're going to have Sweetest Mum Ever, and I'm just going to fussy cut this one out. So this is another nice sentiment. How many of us say that our mums are the best? So if we just chop that one out a minute. So there's that. Believe me, I love you always. There's another nice one. So nicely cut out. So there's two at the back there. So we need another piece of acetate. Just chop that one down a minute. Right, this one, you really are the best. Double-sided tape up from the corner. Yeah, so we've popped that on an angle so I can see that if I'm going to glue this, I need to pop some glue at the bottom there. This is when I start becoming all fingers and thumbs. So I'm going to slot that one in behind that one, and it's coming across on an angle just there. So that's that one. This one we could have just glued to the front. Oops, that one's fallen, slipped. So just get that one on there a minute. Get that one back where I want it. I've got one more to do, this tiny one. We could have Sweetest Mum Ever coming down on an angle there. So that one just fits in there quite nicely. And we just want one more saying. This one's going this way. So this one I'm going to have going this way. So it's in the opposite direction. Just give that one a quick glue down. Just pop that one on there. And how stunning is that pop-up box card looking? Now, if it was me, I would go on and on and on. I'd be putting more acetate with ferns and leaves and all sorts. But for the purpose of this video and showing you how I make my box cards, I think that one's done. So how beautiful is that? Now when this closes up, we decided we wanted it to close that way. This closes perfectly. Got plenty of all this sticky everywhere a lot. Plenty of room to write a message or maybe even stamp a message on the back. And then when that's opened up and sat on the mantelpiece, that's how it looks. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video. I don't know how to show this. Maybe if I turn it round that way. There we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little video. Thank you for watching. And until the next time, bye for now.